I'm Madeline, Director of Content at Seed World Group. I am delighted to be sitting here with a team of the very best editors in the business. Marcel is editor at Seed World Europe, Amy, editor at Seed World US, Mark is editor of Seed World Canada, and Elena is editor of Seed World LATAM. We have always been very committed to boots on the ground in each region. So we deliver a Canadian editor and Canadian writers writing about Canadian issues, a European editor and European-based writers writing about European issues, and so on. That won't change. But bringing our brands together means we've also got more opportunity to showcase integrated global perspectives. So the editors can work together to explain how what happens in one region might have ripple effects throughout other regions too. It also means that we are, without question, the one-stop resource, really the place to go for information, perspectives, thought leadership about the seed sector, regardless of what part of the world you call home. What I wanted to do today is introduce you to each of our region's editors. Though you probably know your region's editor, the great news is that since we've brought all of our brands together and we're housing all of those brands on one shared site, you as a reader or a viewer gain access to the expertise and insight and efforts of all four of these seed industry thought leaders. So Mark, let me start with you. You have been the editor of Seed World Canada for going on 11 years now, am I right?
Almost 11 years, correct.
That's 11 years, okay. So Mark's is a face and that beautiful radio voice. And for anyone who's read his work, accessible, informative writing style that our Canadian seed industry knows so well and appreciates deeply. Mark, you weren't a born and raised farm kid, but you've had a long career in this seed sector and you're deeply, deeply committed to it. So tell me, what drives that passion and dedication to the sector?
I think just a willingness to learn. When I think back the last over 10 years now, every day I learn something different. Every day is a learning experience. When I think about what I know now compared to what I knew 10 years ago, it's night and day. I mean, when I first got into this, I'm not ashamed to say I really knew nothing about agriculture other than what I'd read in the newspapers over the years. And a lot of that wasn't necessarily very accurate. And so when I got into this industry, I realized how much I had to learn, but I also realized how a lot of what I had read over the years just wasn't true. You know, I'd read a lot of things in the media about GMOs that were not true, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I really love about this is learning the truth about agriculture, learning why agriculture is so important, and then passing on that knowledge to other people like my friends and family. And so that's really my favorite part, is learning something new every day and not just learning it for myself, but then getting to pass that on to others. That's so valuable.
I like it. Let me switch over to Marcel. Marcel, you are our editor for Seed World Europe. And what Seed World Europe readers know and appreciate about you is you are a very knowledgeable thought leader in the European seed sector who delivers these incredibly in-depth pieces about everything from technical breeding angles to the EU's very complex policy and regulatory environment. You have a PhD in plant breeding. And when you're not writing for Seed World Europe, you also run a plant breeding consultancy. So every part of you is very deeply involved in plant breeding and the seed sector. So tell us, what is it about this sector that, I guess, first of all, drew you in back a number of years ago and that keeps you in today?
Yeah, thanks, Madeline. Very good question. Of course, the easy answer would be, with plant breeding, you can change plants to suit the needs of mankind better. But I think that's probably an oversimplification. And I think it's good to realize that mankind has been changing plants for millennia. We've been selecting for bigger seeds, for less pod shattering, for juicier fruits, and so on. But all that time, mankind didn't really know what they were doing. They were just picking the best, nicest pods and so on. So when I was in high school, towards the end of the high school period, we had to select the university where we're going to study. And back then, a lot more information was available about plant breeding and how to more efficiently create those new and better varieties. So that was a very exciting period. I immediately fell in love with plant breeding and never looked back, never regretted it. And that was back then. Nowadays, what keeps me going very much is the much bigger picture. When I arrived on this planet, we were with a little over 3 billion people. Nowadays, last year in 2023, we passed the 8 billion people on this same planet. And it is very likely that in my lifetime, I will see the 9 billion people. So a tripling of the global population, and all those new people, they need food. They need affordable food, good food, nutritious food. And with plant breeding and with the seed sector, we can do that. And that thought, that realization is absolutely breathtaking and keeps me going day in, day out.
Beautifully stated. Let me switch over to you, Amy. Amy, you are our editor of Seed World US. You have worked in ag communications, primarily in the academic setting, for 25 years. Is that right? By the math, it looks like you were probably about 4 years old when you started, if you put in 25 years. Amy is an incredible connector, both in terms of building working relationships across the seed industry. And that's, of course, a huge component of what we do, but also in terms of connecting dots on the issues that really matter to the seed industry. So you're particularly skilled at connecting how a day's news, if you open up a newspaper, whether we're talking, policy changes or social issues or breaking news, directly connect to the seed in the seed sector and inform the seed sector, and how the seed sector then also informs those news pieces. And you once told me, Amy, that you've always known that you were going to end up in agriculture. It's your love and the only industry you want to work in. How come? Why is the seed sector so important to you?
I think we've talked about this before too, that I always thought that I wanted to be a large animal veterinarian. And then as I moved into college and evaluated my strengths and particularly my chemistry weaknesses, I decided to move more into the communications field, and obviously wanted to stay within agriculture. And I think there's always just something like really, really fulfilling about working in an industry that is so closely connected to the land. And it's really essential to everyone's lives. I've said it many times, everyone eats. So it's just very, very important. And the seed sector is especially vital because it's really where agriculture begins. It's the very foundation of agriculture. And so being involved in telling seed stories, it just means that I'm involved in telling stories about food security and sustainability and the future of agriculture. And it's challenging, but it's rewarding. And I really can't imagine being anywhere else at this point.
I'm loving all of these answers. I'm feeling very inspired. I know we've had these conversations offline, but each of you are reminding me of not just the importance of what we do, but the love behind what we do, the personal connection to what we do. So thank you. Let me throw it over to Elena. Elena, you are the newest addition to the Seed World team, and let me just say we are so excited to have you. Now, though you're new to the Seed World team, you're definitely not new to the seed sector. You have developed in-depth knowledge in plant breeding through working for more than 15 years, since 2007, I think, with Answer Agricultural Services, which is a plant breeding consultancy in Chile. Now, you have a really unique plant breeding claim to fame. Am I right?
I do. Although I still feel like I have much to learn, and I'm excited to do that inside the Seed World Group. I was fortunate to gain much knowledge in agriculture and genetics within my father's company. And I also gained a flower that was named after me. For the greater part of the last decade, we worked on a project developing a native flower from the Atacama Desert. It's called Leucocorine. It's quite related to the Astromedia, which is much more popular. And we were trying to convert this wildflower into a commercial plant, and it resulted in a few patents, one of which I'm honored to say was named Elena after me. So I'm very proud of that. And yeah, so I'll continue on this path of growth and within this great group of people. I'm super excited.
Excellent. I didn't know that I wanted to have something named after me, but now that I know it's an option, I really do.
All you have to have is a father who's a geneticist working, 10 years in a project.
Indeed.
It's that easy.
So now, as you said, you've very much grown up in the plant breeding business. I think you said that one of your first jobs as a child was working out in some of his trial fields, and you've worked in it in a communications capacity since 2014. So, what inspires or excites you about the seed sector? What keeps you wanting to be part of this sector?
Well, yes, I did grow up in it, and my first job was doing crosses in soybeans. So I was working in those trial plots. And I, like most of you have said, the seed is the start of everything and the solution to one of the world's biggest issues. And one of the biggest issues that we're facing in Latin America and around the world, of course, is the need to adapt to climate change. And so here in Chile, we're seeing an expanding desertification. And so I think plant breeding is the solution to that. And I'm excited to do my part.